Dear ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today and welcome to the first ever webinar that we are giving as Hauser Technocoating. As mentioned, it's the first time ever, so we are not used to speaking to a camera. I'm used to watching everybody and seeing your reactions. Today this is not possible, unfortunately, but we hope that in this way, with this webinar, we are able to introduce today the latest member of our Hauser Flexicoat family, the Flexicoat 1250. So we would like to introduce this system today. First, we will start with some introduction and some words by our CEO Dave Doerwald, after which I will say a little bit more about the reasons why we came to the development of the Flexicoat 1250 and the specific features of the system. So with this, I'd like to give the word to Dave Doerwald, who will give a little bit more words about Hauser and a warm welcome from his side.
Thank you, Michiel, and also a warm welcome to everybody from my side. Really excited to have you here this morning, joining us for this webinar, where we would like to present our latest equipment platform, the Hauser 1250. Normally we would present this new equipment to you in one of the many conferences that are happening during this time of the year. Unfortunately, this is not the case, so we have looked for alternative ways to introduce the new technology here today. Yeah. As we all know, COVID-19 has a big impact on our lives today, all over the world. We are restricted from traveling, from meeting customers, from social interaction, and therefore I'm happy today that we can use technology or new technologies here to be able to be close to our customers. I would like to thank you all for all the hard work and the efforts that you put into overcoming this virus, and especially also to the healthcare and critical businesses that make it possible to guide us through this situation. And hopefully we will be able to meet again face to face very soon, so that we can have open and constructive discussions also about this new platform. First of all, I would like to give a brief introduction about Hauser. Many of you know the company, but just in case for some of you watching the first time, just a few words about Hauser. Hauser is part of the IHI Group. IHI Group is a big conglomerate of 200 companies from Japan, very diverse in their technologies and their solutions for the customers. And Hauser is part of the heat treatment and surface treatment business unit in the group. And this business unit consists of four group companies. The first one is IMS, which is a heat treatment equipment supplier. Then we have VTN, a German heat treatment group doing job coating or heat treatment services. We have Iron Bond. Iron Bond is a global job coating service supplier. And we have, of course, the Hauser group of companies, and we are the equipment technology platform suppliers for coating technology. In the Hauser group, we have Bernex from Olten, Switzerland, for CVD technology. We have Hauser Iberica in Japan for chromotypic technology, and we have Hauser in Venlo, the PVD and PACVD equipment supplier. Together, we have 4 competence centers in the world. One is in Switzerland in Olten, one in Shanghai in China, and one in Spain in Iberica, plus the latest one, or the last one, in Venlo in the Netherlands. Together with Bernex, we have supplied more than 700 systems for PVD and PACVD technology. We have about 35 years of experience in PVD technology, and we are approximately 200 employees worldwide. If you look at our logo, Hauser Industrial Plasma Solutions, what we do with plasma technology, we provide our customers with solutions that enable a more sustainable world. Coatings enable longer lifetime of the coated cutting tool. They enable lower friction of the coated engine component, and thus a reduced energy consumption. And plasma coatings are also often more environmentally friendly and more REACH and RoHS compliant than other competing processes. With our plasma technology and with our customers, we are continuously looking to improve the quality of our products, and improve the cost of ownership and enable new technology in our systems. This enables our customers to provide high-tech and cost-competitive solutions to their customers. And the new 1250 platform addresses all these aspects. The 1250 platform is the successor of the successful HCC 1200 and Flexicoat 1200 systems, and these systems were introduced about 20 years ago. And we have supplied over 130 systems worldwide. With the new 1250 platform, we hope to continue the success of this high productivity, high volume coating platform. The 1250 platform is designed for a lower cost of ownership and higher technology output than the 1200 system. Michiel Eerden will now present the 1250 platform in more detail and will give you a better inside look into the system. Thank you. Michiel.
Okay. Thank you, Dave. To start with, I would like to say something about questions. Normally when we give a presentation at a conference, I always ask you, please, when you have a question, just address me right away. Of course, in this way now, with the webinar, this is not possible, but you should have a possibility to ask your questions on your laptop or your computer. So please send the questions. We have my colleague Louis Tegelaars is here also today. He will collect all the questions you have, and when we finish the presentation, if there are any questions from the audience, I will try to answer them as much as possible, as far as I can. So Dave already gave some background about Hauser and about our slogan here, the Industrial Plasma Solutions. And this is what makes Hauser Hauser. We want to offer you a real solution. And we want to do this by being flexible. Flexible in many ways. Our machines are called Flexicoats because of the many different ways we can configure our systems. But also, I always like to say the flexibility is also in the mind of the people who work at Hauser. If you come to us, we don't have some ready-to-sell system for you. We want to understand what you need. And by understanding what you need, we try to make sure that we can configure our systems to make sure that they meet the requirements that you have in your market. This is quite important for us. This is where we are probably a little bit different than other companies in the market. So challenge us, please. Go further, I'd like to take you a little bit into the journey that we also went through when we started to develop the Flexicoat 1250, the reasoning behind it. What we've seen in the last few years, there have been shifts in the markets that we serve. Some of our classical markets that we serve are the decorative market, faucets, but also spectacle frames, etc. We have tool coatings for cutting and forming tools, and we have what we call the tribological coatings, low friction coatings that reduce the consumption of energy, etc. The automotive market is changing. It's changing a lot. What we see is that combustion engines, when they're still there, they are shrinking. People are trying to get as much as possible power out of a small engine. I myself have a new car. It only has a 1 liter engine, but it has more power than my previous car, which had a much larger engine. What happens when this takes place is that the temperatures for the components in the engine, the temperatures go up. And the classical coating we've always been able to use in the market and still meets many requirements, the typical DLC coating, is not able to withstand these higher temperatures. For these applications, the TAC coating, tetrahedral carbon, is a very good solution. It has a higher temperature resistance, and it also has a good compatibility with the oils that are being used in modern engines. This TAC coating has to be deposited at low temperatures, and the 1250 I will show you later has been designed to make sure we can do this very efficiently. In the forming tool market, what we see there is that forming tools are getting larger. Production methods are changing. They are becoming, let's say, somewhat cheaper, so it's easier to make new large forming tools. And we see that our customers who are in this market, they are getting larger and larger tools. So the 1200 system, the Flexicoat 1200 system, was getting a little bit too small. You see the same in the decorative market. If you look at your bathroom today compared to many years ago, many people have a big rain shower and they can be quite massive products. And if you want to coat these efficiently, you need a somewhat larger chamber. And that is one thing we have done with the Flexicoat 1250 to make sure that it fits larger products or more smaller products. Also, the flexibility that I just mentioned has been increased in this system. Up to now we always had a maximum of 6 cathode positions on a machine. The Flexicoat 1250 has been designed to have even 7, up to 7 cathode positions. They do not have to be used, all of them, but at least we have the capability to have cathodes on 7 positions. This is quite important for job coaters who need to have a high flexibility in coatings they make. They want to serve many different markets. They need to be able to make many different coatings. And if you can combine many technologies in one machine, it's easier to switch from one coating type to the other without having to do a lot of work in between. You can simply just use a new recipe and make a different coating. Quite important for OEMs is also the cost of ownership. An OEM usually buys a machine to make 1 or 2 specific coatings on some specific items, and then the main thing there is productivity. So if we can have more cathodes or more power, more heating power, more cooling power, we can reduce the cycle time, or with a system that's larger, keep the cycle time the same and make sure that we can reduce the cost of ownership. So this is what is specific for the Flexicoat 1250, what Dave already presented as well. What he mentioned is cost of ownership. That was the key in the development goal for this machine. So that's why today we are very happy and proud to finally be able to present you with this new system. And now you can see on the screen, this is a picture of the new Flexicoat 1250 system. It has a little bit similar look and feel maybe than the existing Flexicoat series 1200 and 1000 and 1500 machines, but there clearly are some differences, and these differences I would like to explain in somewhat more details in the next couple of slides. The first of them is this one. Here, what you can see here is our vacuum chamber. And this vacuum chamber again has a very high amount of flexibility. What you see on this picture, you see that for each cathode position we can choose a certain flange. It can be a rectangular flange to make sure that we can use sputter cathodes, we can use rectangular arc, we can use 4 or 5 circular arc cathodes. We also have dedicated walls with 4 CR plus cathodes to make sure that you make a dedicated machine. For the first time ever, we have an option to build a 7th cathode. What you're looking at now from the front side is the turbo pump side. On the opposite side, again, we can have a flange. And this flange is available for additional technologies. What you see here is that this is the vacuum chamber. It also means that if you choose a certain configuration today, it doesn't have to stay that way. We can always, like you're used to from Hauser, upgrade systems with new or different technologies in the future. Special thing what you see here on this is that on top of the chamber there are 2 options. There is a closed flange, but there is also a flange with an opening, which enables us to add a new feature in our system that I will introduce a little bit later, which gives another productivity boost to this system. Configuration. Make sure we are flexible in the way we can build the machines. That's for us daily business, and I would like to give you some examples of how we can do that. First, for example, if you look at the decorative market, what is important in the decorative coating market when you think about sanitary hardware, door hardware, spectacle frames? Many people would like to make sure they can make a wide variety of different colors. This is pure fashion. So today in the industry, people like red gold, they like deep black. Many years ago it started with brass, then it went to nickel, so you see a gradual change in this fashion. People like different colors and different ages. What we do here in this system, in the setup we have chosen here, this would be a machine with 4 rectangular arc cathodes and 2 sputter cathodes. This allows us to make all the typical colors that you are used to from us, from brass to gold to red gold, etc. with the arc. With the arc technology we can also make sure that these coatings can be made at low temperatures. So we also enable the deposition of coatings on ABS plastic parts, which are very typical for faucets or for shower heads mainly. We also add in this case sputter technology, and the sputter technology enables us to make colors deep, dark, black colors, and something special which we have been working on for some time, which is now maybe a little bit more interesting is the antibacterial coatings. And I don't want to claim that the antibacterial coatings we can provide are able to kill a coronavirus, but they do kill bacteria. That's been proven. So in this age now where hygiene is really of importance, these antibacterial coatings can be quite interesting for you. And this can also be made in a system where we have the possibility to add these different technologies in one machine. This is one example for decorative coatings. If we go to cutting tools or forming tools, here we see an example of a system for saw blades. But it could also be forming tools on the table. And here we see banks of circular arc cathodes. These cathodes enable us to make all the typical nitride coatings that are used in the industry. It also enables us to make TAC, the tetrahedral amorphous carbon coating, which is used for cutting and forming of lightweight materials such as aluminium, which is a trend in the industry. It also enables, like the other systems, to do both plasma nitriding and PVD coating in one and the same batch, one and the same cycle in the same machine, which is really of added benefit to forming tools that are under high load bearing, where they need high load bearing capacity. This is one example. When we go to tribological low friction coatings, this could be one of the configuration you could choose. This machine here has 4 sputter cathodes and 1 bank of CR+ cathodes. With the sputter cathodes we can make all the typical DLC coatings, tungsten carbon, tungsten DLC, DLC, silicon DLC. When we add high pimps technology, we can actually make high pimps TAC coatings, so very smooth carbon coatings. And with the bank of CR+, we can again make the typical TAC coatings that are already used in the industry nowadays on automotive components more and more. So this shows you some of the flexibility we have to offer with this new platform, and I have not even addressed the capability of adding the 7th cathode position, which in this case, for example, could be used for microwave sources, which again add a new technology to make diamond-like carbon coatings for specific, with specific advantages that we could discuss in a later stage in more detail. I also mentioned the flange on top of the machine. The reason for this flange is that we can add a new feature, which we call sometimes retractable. When you think about depositing coatings on components that have a certain temperature sensitivity, so they should be, for example, be coated at low temperature, like for TAC, you'd like to have the maximum amount of cooling capacity in your chamber. We can add these cooling panels in the machine on cooling panels on the outside, but with this feature we can also add them in the center of the machine. However, we cannot only use cooling panels, we can also add heater panels in the same position. So during the first step of the process, where you need to heat up the load and make sure everything is degassed, the heaters will drop down, as you see on the right side of this picture. During the deposition, when you want to make sure you remove all the heat which is dissipated, which is coming from the plasma, the heaters go up and the cooling panels come down. And this leads to additional productivity, additional gain, lower cycle time with higher productivity, lower cost of ownership. And that again is the crucial thing here for this new Flexicoat 1250 system. Capacity is also shown in this picture. On the left side you can see the table that we used to have with the Flexicoat 1200. On the right side you see the table from the Flexicoat 1250. A typical table for the 1200 would have had 12 spindles. Now we can go to 16 spindles with the same diameter. And what you can see here then in this case is that we have, in this case with a 2-foot rotation, we have 33% more capacity in the machine. But because we can scale up the deposition power, we can scale up the heating power, the cooling power, we can keep the cycle times the same, and in some cases even reduce cycle times with the retractable in order to have much better cost of ownership. And that's finally where you need to make your money. Being a job coater or being an OEM, this is what makes you money. And that's where we try to contribute again also with this system. So low cost of ownership, that's the key to this new system compared to our Flexicoat 1200 machine. And this low cost of ownership is not only in the system itself and the technologies and the powers, the low cost of ownership, we've also taken into account when you think about things like maintenance, to make sure shielding exchange is simple, to make sure that when you want to do maintenance or you have to do some repairs, that everything is handled in such a way that it's easy to reach. This has all been taken into account in the design phase of this machine. And with that, I'd like to take you on a virtual tour of the machine. We cannot show you the real machine today, unfortunately, this is just not possible. But what we can do, we can take you on a virtual tour of the system. So I will show you. This is our image of the Flexicoat 1250. And I'd like to show you a little bit more about the machine. So here you can look at the system. We have the vacuum chamber. One thing which is special for this machine, which you have saw a little bit on the pictures, is that the doors are opening to the other side of than before, which makes sure that the machine is easier to load and unload. And that's one specific item we have changed. When you look at the top of the machine, you can see we have a nice wide area where you can stand to do maintenance. This optional shielding here has a wide opening door, so you have easy access. If you need to do maintenance on a pump system or the cool water system, it's easy to do. Simple. When you look at the cabinets, they have a certain layout now, but this layout is flexible. The cabinets can be placed in different directions, so if you have specific layout requests from the factory where you're located in, we can typically accommodate these questions from you. So please, if you have questions, just don't be afraid to ask also after this presentation, and let us know how we can assist you. I'd like to share you a little bit more about the inside of the machine. So here we go. And now we can look at the inside, and this is where, let's say, the magic happens. And here you see one example of a decorative coating. Again, you see the same picture like we had before, where the faucets are rotating in tooth rotation on the table. And here we have an example of sputter cathodes, where you can see the sputter cathode is running, but this could also be an arc cathode, and in this way, running in this way, we can make all the different colors that we have available in our machines. This is one example of the decorative coating. If you go to an industrial component, this would be one example again, where we have vanes in the system. Still we have the sputter cathodes. We can combine it with the bank of CR Plus to make TAC. We combine it with PACVD technology to make diamond-like carbon coatings. And when you go to saw blades or forming tools, here we see another different configuration, where actually we have, in this case 4, but it can also be 5 CR Plus cathodes running and depositing a nitride coating on saw blades. So this shows you a little bit of a virtual tour, let's say, about on our machine and the way it's working. I hope it's been a little bit, it has clarified more details about the system that we have today. And with that, I'd like to finish the virtual tour. And I'd like to, like I mentioned before, if there are any questions, then let's see if there are some questions that arrived, and Louis can bring them to us. Okay. Thank you, Louis. Just before I take a look at the questions and what surprises you have given me, I want to mention that if you're interested, if you want to learn more, if you want to discuss, please do not hesitate to contact us. You have my information here. People who know Hauser, you also know the contact person, you know your product manager, your counterparts in process engineering. Don't be shy. Please let us know what you like to, what questions you have, and make sure that we together try to make this a success. So I have one question here. Did you take care of easy maintenance for this machine type? That's a good question. I already addressed this partly by explaining that we have a large area to do the maintenance. Shielding design, as you know from Hauser, is done in such a way that you don't need any tools. It's easy and quick to disassemble all the shieldings from the machine. We've also done some different things. We have made sure that the whole machine only, for example, has one heater type and one shutter type. So that also helps you in maintenance and troubleshooting to make sure that the stock of spare parts at Hauser or at your site, at customer site, can be small and still make sure that we keep the system up and running and at high productivity. So yes, maintenance absolutely has been a crucial part also in the design stage of the system. The second question, do I have to change all my spindles when changing from the F1200 to the F1250? No, this does not have to be done. What we've done when we changed, let's say, from the Flexicoat 1200 to the Flexicoat 1250 system, we have taken into account that the fixtures you have available in your factory can be used in the Flexicoat 1250 without doing any changes. We know that many customers have invested a lot in fixtures, in 3-foot rotation holders, etc., etc. And when you will put a 1250 next to a Flexicoat 1200 machine, you can use the identical hardware in the machine. The loading height, the coating height of the Flexicoat 1250 is identical to the Flexicoat 1200. The cathode size and the target sizes are identical, so it's an easy compatibility from an easy switch from the 1200 to the Flexicoat 1250. There will not be a difficult learning curve. It's from that point of view easy to handle. So Louis, do you have any more questions that came in? Yes. Okay. Question from Pepkin. Hi Pepkin, from the Sheffield Hallam University. Can you configure high PIMS coating and high PIMS etching? Yes, we can. With the sputtering technology we have on our machines, we can use pulse DC, but we can also use high PIMS cathodes. So we can go up to peak powers in a megawatt range, and this allows us to make high PIMS coatings and also to use high PIMS etching. High PIMS etching, for those of you who don't know much about it, one of the difficult aspects of, or let's say adverse aspects of arc evaporation is the fact that when you create metal ions, you also create metal droplets. And these metal droplets, they lead to roughness on the surface, which finally can have a negative influence on the performance of the final product. With high PIMS etching, what you try to do is to make sure you have all the metal ions, but without the droplets, to have efficient etching method with high PIMS. And this system has been designed to make exactly this possible. I think probably one more question, yes, from Mr. Gupta. What is the maximum weight of stamping tools and what is the max length? Good question. So typically I would say we can go up to roughly 1,000 kilograms of load on the satellite table. But if you would have some specific requests, which we've had also in the past for other systems, we can also look at other possibilities to even gain higher load, but 1,000 kilogram anyway would be not a problem, which is typically more than sufficient for forming tools. And the max length. Of course, there's a difference between the effective coating zone and the length. The effective coating zone of this machine is in the range of 850 and for forming tools probably up to 900 millimeters. But the loading height is over 1 meter. Then you would have to look at the design of the tool, what is effective area, what is not. And that is something we always discuss together with customer to see that we make sure that the fixture design is such that we have the parts loaded, let's say, in the sweet spot of the machine and make sure that everything is done as efficiently as possible. So I hope this has answered your question. And I see Louis coming, so one more question which has arrived. I think it's probably the last one that where we have time for. And this question is from Mr. Quintana. He asks, what combinations can be done nitriding and PVD? Okay, plasma nitriding and PVD. The main benefit we have from plasma nitriding, if you look at a forming tool, for example, forming tools that are used nowadays for ultra high strength steels that are used in the automotive industry for weight reduction. These ultra high strength steels, they are quite difficult to form, to machine, and they put a lot of load on the forming tool. And if you put a PVD coating directly on the steel, on the mold steel, there is a big difference in the hardness of the coating and the substrate material. And then you get a little bit the effect of when you put a glass plate. When I put a glass plate on this counter and I lean on it, nothing will break because the hardness of these materials is similar. But when I put a glass plate on a pillow and I push it, the glass will break. What we do with plasma nitriding and PVD is, with the plasma source we have on our machine, we can do plasma nitriding of the top, let's say 40-50 micrometers of the mold steel. This increases the hardness of the mold steel. We control the process parameters in such a way that we don't create the typical white layer that you get when you have a normal nitriding process. And in this way we can combine the nitriding and the PVD coating in one and the same cycle. The PVD coatings we can then make is anything available. So we can make titanium nitride, titanium aluminium nitride, aluminium titanium nitride, aluminium chrome nitride, titanium carbon nitride, chrome nitride. So all the typical coatings that you get in forming, casting, all of these coatings that we can all apply in this machine with or without the combination of plasma nitriding. It's just a matter of selecting the right process recipe, pushing the start button and waiting to open the door and remove the coated products. So I hope again that I was able to answer the question sufficiently. But again, if you have more questions, please contact us also directly after the show. 2 more questions. It's good to have so many questions. That's really nice to make sure that people are actually interested. Normally I would see you and see the reactions. I cannot do that today, but it's really nice to see that we have so many questions coming up. Does the Flexicoat 1200 have additional special features for etching, such as anode button? A question from Emil Hay. What we can do, in all of our Hauser machines, we have a plasma source, which is a hot filament source which is creating electrons, and the electrons, they can be accelerated to the anode, and by gaining energy they can create argon ions. What this machine also has is the possibility to do what we call focused ion rapid etch. If you have a system where you also have the CR Plus technology in this machine, we can use the normal anode, but also the CR Plus cathodes. They can be switched as anode. What happens in that way is that we draw the plasma through the table, and when you do that, you increase the plasma density near the products. You increase the etch rate. So this special feature, yes, is also a standard option on the Flexicoat 1250 in combination with the CR Plus technology. And this is mainly useful for products that have a little bit higher temperature resistance, because the higher density of plasma and the increased ion bombardment will lead to somewhat elevated process temperatures. And a question still from Andre Hieke. What is the possible cycle time reduction in the Flexicoat 1250 compared to the 1200 with regard to cooling? Well, this is mainly the case. The main benefit we will get is for TAC coatings. When you want to make a very hard TAC coating, you need to deposit at relatively low temperature, let's say in the range of 160 to 200 degrees. And the typical way to do it is to coat for a certain while and then to start pumping and let the machine cool down and then start coating again. When we introduce these cooling panels, we can reduce the cooling times, the steps in between, and make sure in this way that we can reduce the total cycle time. I would have to discuss a little bit more detail with Ruud Jacobs, our tribo guru at Hauser, to give some a little bit more details about the real cycle time reduction, which is possible, but I'm sure we can discuss this in more detail at a later stage. So I see there are no more questions coming up. So I'd like to thank you for your attention. I hope it's been useful for you. It has been interesting. Again, it was the first time doing a webinar for us for Hauser. Still a little bit strange for me looking at this camera and imagining you sitting behind it. But I hope it was worthwhile your attention. And again, you will receive some more information after the show. So we have our new Hauser for You is ready. You will receive a digital copy of this Hauser for You, where we say something more about the Flexicoat 1250, but also about some other aspects that are important for Bernix and Hauser. But we will be in contact with you. We'll receive more questions or more information. But when you do have a question to us, please do not hesitate to contact us, as we already mentioned before. So thank you all for your attention. And again, I hope to see you soon in good health. Stay safe, and let's make sure we meet each other again, hopefully in the near future, in better circumstances. So thank you again, and goodbye.